Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. On Monday, top four was still a possibility, and now we're back to where we were a week before after a loss to Brighton, Burnley. Where do we go from here? And Conte's interview after the game doesn't really make pleasant listening either. But yeah, we're here to talk about that and much more besides. Got two great guests. Alan from Shelfside Spurs. How you doing, Alan? Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, thank you, boys. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Just a quick one. Vez has been on here before, but where can people find your stream?
We're on a Thursday night, so we'll be on tonight at 7:30. We've got a very special guest coming up next Thursday in the great Steve Perryman.
Oh,
he's
wow.
He's joining us. We had Mickey Hazard a couple of weeks ago, which was superb. It just keeps it just gives you that vibe, you know. But yeah, I keep trying to get some of the players that are on there today, but I can't get them.
Well, they're going to be moaned at if they go on any Spurs streams. So I'm sure they don't want to. But but both Alan and Justin's Twitter handles are in the description, and Shelfside Spurs YouTube link is in the description as well. And Justin, welcome back. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Yeah, not too bad. Just a shame of the result, but fingers crossed Saturday will be better, especially as we're playing Leeds. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and Eugene in the chat. How you doing, Eugene? Hi, welcome out to everyone to Let's Talk Tottenham. Leave you out. And for anyone who didn't see it, go and check Eugene's latest video out. Bob Spur was on that one.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. About halfway through, he came in. Absolutely brilliant to see Bob Spur on there, and we all wish him well here. Everyone in the chat, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. We're in a bad mood at the moment, so all the likes would help. Really helps the channel. Really appreciate it. But Alan, we'll start with top four done again. We were talking about this off air.
Yeah.
It's not mathematically, it's not done.
No.
But if we can't be beating teams at the bottom and stuff like that, we can beat all the teams around the top as we want. But it's about what you've got to beat the teams at the bottom, starting with Leeds. And I'm adamant to not, if we beat Leeds, come on here on Monday and go, well, we're top four again, because it's just too inconsistent. But where do you stand on the top four possibility?
Well, the bonus with Leeds, I'll always look on the bright side until it's totally impossible anyway. The bonus with Leeds is they are too close to the bottom to be doing a sit back. I know Burnley, with Burnley, they were attacking us, but they was always in a position to be able to drop deep enough to avoid that counter. I don't think Leeds have got that in their mindset. I think, and that could play into our hands in a sense of we could see the counter of like we did against Man City. You know, that one that put us on the top of the roller coaster ride. Which we see then to finally arrive on the shit against Burnley. So,
yeah. And Justin, where do you stand? I mean, I agree with Alan there. Leeds don't know anything else but to attack, whereas Burnley are a lot more defensive. So sit back. It's always going to be a different game to the Man City game. Similar to Leeds, I think Man City were always going to attack us. They're the better team by quite a margin, and they were at home, so that leaves open the counter-attack. I expect that to happen against Leeds. I expect Leeds to score against us, but Burnley was a completely different situation. But where do you stand on the top four relating to Spurs? Are they out of it, or is there still a chance for you?
I don't see. I personally don't see it. I think the actual teams ahead of us are doing enough. I think when you look at the games, and I think there's two games in particular that had it been Tottenham, I think the results would have been different in terms of when United played Leeds and won 4-2. Bearing in mind they were 2-0 up at one point and Leeds pulled it back to 2-2. You could see potentially that Leeds were going to do it, and in the end, United got the 2 goals and got the win. And I think similar with Arsenal and Wolves, you could see that when it got tough and they were 1-0 down, they didn't sort of shy away. They kept fighting and they got the result. And what I found very interesting is, we played Wolves, last week or a week or so ago. And Arsenal did. And you could see the difference between the two teams. You know, when we went 1-0 down, heads went down, body language was down. It was a case of, oh, this is it. We might as well just not even bother. And sure enough, we didn't. Whereas Arsenal thought, no, actually, we want to fight. We want to actually do this. We want to achieve our goal in terms of winning the game and pushing on for top four. So I think the issue really is that the reason that we turn up for the big games is that it's a bigger occasion. I think in a strange way, City suit playing rather than Burnley, because Burnley are a very in your face, aggressive team who know that they're in for a fight, especially with what is going on. They got a fantastic result against Brighton at the weekend, which nobody expected. They've got the striker who I would have loved to have had at Tottenham in Weghorst. I think he very much epitomises what Burnley are looking to do and actually offers a better goal threat to Chris Wood. So I think from that aspect, that has really helped their cause. And I think as well, they generally how they set up, it just doesn't suit us and the conditions, things like that, which is a pathetic situation for this football club to be in. That you've almost got to pick the times you play Burnley, because if you play Burnley at their best, we've seen it in the past. When we play Burnley at their best, we can't cope with them. We seem to struggle away from home. It's almost like it's an up and down ground to go to for us at Turfmoor. So for me, I generally think top four's done. Yes, we were talking before we went on air about if we win the games against the bigger teams, and okay, that might suit us, but as we've shown, we can't win the little games. The games that we should have more consistency in winning. And I think what we've seen from, I probably would say more Arsenal and Man United. I think West Ham, we've seen that they've become more hit and miss. They're almost becoming a little bit like us. As I said, they got that draw against Newcastle, which they would have expected to win. So I do think it's going to be between those two. But for me, I actually would rather, if we're not going to get top four, I don't want any Europe.
No,
I don't want Europe at all. I'd rather just turn around, be out of Europe completely, because let's not forget, when Conte went into Chelsea and won the league, they were 9th the previous year. So from that aspect,
do you think that will cause the Harry Kane situation again, or do you think that's going to be happening anyway, regardless of what happens this season?
I think it's, to be honest, I think the Harry Kane situation is now intertwined with the Antonio Conte situation, because let's not forget, Harry Kane turned up against Manchester City and showed Manchester City where they wasted £100 million, because I don't think Jack Grealish, as much of as a fantastic player as I think he is, I don't think he's improved that team. He's given them depth to the squad, but as they've shown, if Harry Kane had been in that team, the league would be done. Champions League would pretty much just be a foregone conclusion. So I think what we're going to see, because the difference with Mourinho, because I think he would have stuck with Mourinho, is that Mourinho will moan and whine and complain until he's sacked. He would have been wanting to be paid off. Conte won't hang around. If he's seeing early on, let's say mid-August, he hasn't got what he wants, he will leave. And then Kane will leave as well, And then problem you've got there for Tottenham is he's 28 years old. His value will start to drop. You could probably argue you might still be able to get 100, 150 million pounds. But let's not forget, Mbappe comes into the situation. Haaland comes into the situation. So there are different strikers out there that people are going to be looking for. But I would say with Harry Kane, I do what Conte does. Simple as that.
Yeah. And where do you start? We'll come on to Conte's interview in a little bit, Alan. But I mean, I didn't watch the game. I was at the cinema watching Death in an R, very good film, and it's the first film ever in my life that I've guessed what happens before it actually happens. Very pleased with that. And then I come back, go on to BBC Sport, and then my evening gets ruined.
Yeah, well,
so I didn't watch the game. I watched a couple of minutes highlights. You watched the game, and you were saying off air that you didn't think we played that bad. So It's very different to the Southampton game where they outshot us by quite a margin. Whereas looking at BBC, we had slightly more shots than them. Kane hit the bar. What did you make of the game? Watching it live.
Well, put it this way: so like we could have, we were pretty unlucky not to score in the first 20 seconds. There was an opportunity there that a deflection on another day, if it had been us, would have gone in the goal. But Pope managed to turn it around the corner. When you see the Wolves game and the Southampton game, we were in this one compared to them two. We were out. We didn't, even though we were beating Southampton on 2 occasions, like leading. We never really looked like we deserved anything from the game. Southampton won the game; they deserved it. Wolves won the game; they deserved it. We didn't deserve nothing out of it. We didn't deserve a point. If we'd got worse the point on Wednesday, that would have been the least. We had chances. We just never got enough of them on target on the day, and we never got one in. We never got them in the back of the net. And to be honest with you, I still say to this day, I think it was a very soft free kick that led to their goal. But in the second half, in the first half, they looked more threatening, but I didn't really think they scared us. They didn't scare me. I wasn't sort of like thinking, "Oh, bloody hell, come on, Tottenham, come on." Whereas in the second half, I thought there's only going to be one winner, and it weren't us. No, you know what I mean? Because you could see the way things were going. We weren't getting the breaks. We weren't, we hit the bar. Another day it hits the underside of the bar, goes in, and we just weren't getting the breaks. We were taking shots on that weren't even troubling Pope. But every time we give a free kick away anywhere near our area, I just started to worry that it was going to happen then.
Yeah, and Justin, I don't know if you watched the game, but I was always worried about it. I said it on here. I was on Turfmoor House TV, Burnley fan down there. Check that out on Tuesday, and said pretty much exactly the same. Completely different game to Man City. They'll open up against us. Burnley won't. So it's going to be a really, really tight game. Possibly a set piece or corner or something like that decides it. And unfortunately, I was right. And unfortunately, the wrong side got that free kick. I'm not sure what Romero was doing. He got the wrong side of him from the start and then kind of craned his neck. Made it quite easy for me to get the header there. What did you make of the game? And do you agree with Alan that we deserve something from the game?
I mean, overall, I think Burnley with a better team. You could tell that sort of scrappy style suited them. I think probably what didn't help was when he brought on Mora and I think took off Royale. It kind of gave them more opportunity to get down the right-hand side. So, yes, okay, we hit the crossbar, but I don't think overall, in a scrappy game like that we probably deserve to get much from it at all. So, and that's always been Tottenham's Achilles heel. It's not been, there's no difference whether it be Conte or Mourinho or Pochettino, or even Nuno. When it came to scrappy games when you knew you were going to be in a fight, we don't have it. It doesn't seem to sit well enough with those players. And look, Romero got, caught out of position for the goal, but the one area that I don't think we did too badly at was the three at the back. I thought that they kind of did okay. They sort of marshaled Burnley's attacks quite well. It was just unfortunately, as you say, you called it, where it was going to be a one goal sort of difference, and that sort of went the way of Burnley. I think if we'd have got a goal before that, and we could have maybe then controlled the game better. But when it was a game that was scrappy, edgy and was going to be a difficult one, it just doesn't suit Tottenham. One of the things that I've always said and I was saying on the All Things Tottenham show that we recorded last night, was that there just isn't a plan B. It is a case of, and what's worrying is that that's been no different to, all the way back to Pochettino. If we can't break a team down, just keep doing the same thing. It's almost like the definition of madness. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and expecting something different from it. And that I always find really frustrating. And, why we didn't go and get a striker in January when, we saw Newcastle get one, we saw Burnley get one to replace that one. I know people say it was more urgent, but not being funny, I think Weghorst cost about 12 to 14 million pounds.
Yeah.
Would he have not been a bad shout to have up there if, because one of the things that Tottenham could have done was almost drop Kane deep into like a number 10 role and have that target man up there. I mean, I said Dane Scarlett, but that's only because we got no one else, unless they would have been prepared to put Bergwijn up there. But it almost seems as though there are certain players as well will play regardless. I think, I do think that we at some point maybe need to look at, does Son need a break? Does Kane need a break? Do other players, we did it with Højbjerg. He got a break. I know that Reguilon's getting over COVID and I think he's just getting over an injury. But, in effect, it may be doing him good for him to have a break. So I think that is where it does impact on Tottenham. Particularly, I think Conte's comments, I know we're going to talk about the interview afterwards, but the one before where he said Kane will play when it, regardless of whether he's only got one leg. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, but that defines Tottenham's problem. Yes, he has been brilliant for us, but you look at the top teams, they're not afraid to say, right, you're not playing that game. We need you for the next one. You look at Liverpool with Firmino, you look at Guardiola with Sterling, two players who would walk straight into the Tottenham team. And yet at times we'll be told, no, you're not needed for this one. We'll play you on the next one, and that
highlights our obvious problem: the strength in depth. You can't drop Kane because there's no one there. You can drop Sterling because he's got Mahrez, he's got Grealish, he's got Foden, and that highlights our problem. And another problem, Alan. Well, I've cut you off there, Justin. Sorry.
No. I mean, to be fair, all I was going to say was that I understand what you're saying with that. And yes, that does come down to a massive issue with recruitment. But one of the other problems also is if the recruitment is a problem, then you use what you've got, even if it does mean, because that highlights it better. If you're turning around and having to say, right, I'm going to have to put Dane Scarlett on because you haven't given me that, that then shows in clear black and white what you've done, which is you've not given me what I needed. So I'm having to rely on this rather than, people saying, oh, well, Kane wasn't at his best. Well, Kane's having to almost play every single minute and not being given that opportunity. So yes, I do agree. Our recruitment's been terrible for that, but you almost have to sit there and think, okay, well, if we need a plan B, so I will use players you've given me. And if people say, well, that didn't work, it's like, well, that's all I've got. You're right. Sterling has the opportunity to be rested for Mahrez or Grealish or people like that. But Tottenham have to use what they've got. And if it does highlight that there's a problem, then that takes it back onto the board, the owners, because you can then say, well, Tottenham did try something different, but the personnel weren't good enough. And who's the fault that that's the personnel we've got? The owners. Rather than just sticking with what we've got and flogging a dead horse.
Yeah, I think the problem, and I know it sounds really silly, but I think the biggest problem we've got is Kane is so influential and such an important player. I think we do have, I don't think it's always a case of now don't get me wrong, I mean Nick out myself, yeah? But I don't think it's a case of always that we can't get a striker in. It's a case of, does that striker want to come? You know what I mean? Well, I think Weghorst would have actually come, but
yeah, exactly.
Do they want to be? They know that majority of the time they will be sat on the bench, yeah, because Kane will always be first choice. Yeah, we need someone to come in and be able to make Kane have to think about his game and not consider himself being first choice. But at the moment, I don't know. I think we've lost out on signing strikers because they think, why am I going to go there when I can go there and play every week and get the same sort of money in wages and pick up my bonuses? Whereas if I go to Tottenham, all I'm ever going to get is a substitute bonus. I'm never going to be picking up any other bonuses, blah, blah, blah. And as I say,
I think what all I would say, and apologies for interrupting, is you look at, I think, probably the best second striker we've had in a while, which was Llorente. You know, he was instrumental because he did that. He gave that plan B. And if you actually look at, I remember going back to the Champions League game, not just the City away, but Ajax away.
Yeah, he changed the game at half.
Look at his age. But what I'm saying is, look at his age. If he had been younger, would he might have stayed at, he might not wanted to, because he wanted to play more, because he was playing Swansea. When he was playing at Swansea, he's playing week in, week out. Yeah. When he came to Spurs, all he ever done really was came on occasionally, and we didn't really even use him to his strengths.
I think, though, to be fair, that is the failings of the recruitment, because if you're going after players who want to be a first choice striker and demand to be, you know, it almost comes back to that Lautaro Martinez deal that they talked about, that they've done, which it's amazing how that 60 million quid has still never materialized. I don't know where that went. You know, but why are you going after somebody like that when you know full well he ain't going to come? You know, that's the equivalent of me going into a Ferrari garage with a tenner and saying, what can I get with this? You know, I'm not going to get anything.
That's to create the image that we're trying to be ambitious and do this with you know, possibly, well, no one actually knows, because no one actually knows the details of that. But from the outside, it looks like, let's go for him. He's a real top star. We know we can't get him, but it will create the image that we're trying. But I go back. I think there was one thing in the 3-minute highlights I saw, and it was Emerson's chance when Kane dropped deep, Alan. Put a lovely ball in, and then it started being a bit of pinball, the ball in was lovely for a volley, first time volley. If that was Kane, it might not have gone in, but it would have been a shot on target. You know, the playmaker should be playing that ball to the striker, not the striker playing it to the right wing back. So, in terms of recruitment, I agree we need another striker and a plan B. And Weghorst would have been absolutely superb with the way that we're playing at the moment without a playmaker, because you hoover out long, and then he wins the flick-ons, and then it's the Son's jobs, the Bergwijn's jobs, the Morva's jobs, Kulusevski as well, to do the running for him and get around him to win those flick-ons. But without a playmaker, the way that we're playing, it's fine coming deep, Kane. You have to have someone go further on. As England, Scotland in the Euros was a perfect example. No one went further beyond him, and that's why the game was so boring. We looked so unthreatening. Whereas the other games, Sterling then took it upon himself to be the striker when Kane came deep, and then we looked threatening. And that's what Son was doing under Mourinho, and that seems to have stopped. But
I don't know what's wrong with Sonny at the moment. Sonny to me, I don't know if you've noticed, it's been like, I think even with the Southampton, with the Wolves game, even against Man City, and especially against Burnley, there's 4 or 5 opportunities there where he would usually take a pop with his right foot, and yet he's not taken one shot, and 2 or 3 times he pulled it back on his left, weakened it, and then literally passed it to the goalkeeper.
Well, just to echo that, the Man City goal that Kulusevski scored, I watched it and I thought, how's he not taking a shot? And he squares it. Okay, it went in, but I was stunned by that.
Yeah. To be fair on that one, the Man City goal, I think what's happened is Emerson came out really quickly, and if you look when he's passed it, he's taken an absolute clattering. So it could have been a penalty if, you know. So I think he's seen that I'm going to get clattered here. The keeper's too close, so he's going to hit his foot and go anywhere. Kulusevski's in a better position, and possibly give him a bit of confidence, get his first goal, and lay it on a plate for him. But so I don't blame Son for that.
No, but it just, to me, it just seems as though he seems to be taking away that effort, taking that effort on with his right foot, and wondering whether he's carrying either a niggle there or he's got a bet with someone that his next goal is going to be with his left foot. Because I tell you something, it just weird. I can't remember the last time he took a chance with his right foot and attempted to go for goal.
Someone did say during the game against City on the Spurs WhatsApp groups, it may very well have been Alex, but I could have that wrong. But someone definitely said it looks like he's taken a knock on his left leg because he's on his right leg, sorry, or something like that. But then that doesn't then explain the goal that Kane scored, the first one. Yeah. Lovely ball from Son. But Alan, obviously a massive win for Brighton, for Burnley. Do you think it's an even bigger win for Burnley and an even bigger win for Leeds, in the sense that Leeds now really, they don't have to win against us. Their season, if you're at the bottom end, going to be defined on how you do against teams in the top half. It's going to be how you do against teams at the bottom. But do you think they'll look at us as well and go, well, they're there for the taking because of their defence and we back our attacking, even though they don't have Bamford? Or they're not going to sit back because Leeds can't do that. Bielsa can't do that.
Because Leeds don't do that.
Do you think it will re-emphasise for them with Burnley winning that one and Brighton? We have to win this game, and then their motivation is fully on winning this game rather than, well, we've got a 6-pointer next week, which we really have to win that. Let's just do damage limitation against Spurs.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't think Leeds play that way. I don't think they play any game any differently. They literally play from the front foot from minute one to the game. I mean, I was at the game at home. I went to see us when we beat them 2-1 at home, and sort of like when they scored just before half time. I must admit, at the time, the way we were playing, I didn't see us coming back but we'd done something different in the second half. We started to press them. We was more on the front foot, and to be honest with you, the second half on that game, there's only one team that really deserved to win it. But Leeds deserved, on their first half performance, they deserved it, you know. But I watch a lot of football because I play fantasy football a lot, and so I always watch football to keep me in mind on, do I want to buy that player into my team, blah, blah, blah. And I don't ever see Leeds changing their style. They're always on the front foot. They don't defend deep. So like, you know, if you can catch them quickly and early in the first half, a bit like Man United. And then, I mean, let's be fair. I know they came back and pulled it back to 2-2, but the first goal they scored against Man United was just a fluke. You know what I mean? Will that happen again? You know, are they going to get a fluky goal like that? Yeah, it can happen, but I don't see. As I say, it's put it this way. The one thing I can definitely say it won't be. I don't think on Saturday. I don't think it'll be a 0-0.
Well, if it is 0-0, you know, in the description, Alan's Twitter handle is in there, so you can blame him.
No, my Twitter handle's not in there. My no, that's Shelfside Spurs, the podcast. My Twitter handle is at Lighty, Lighty 64.
Yeah, so that'll be in there as well. So if it is 0-0, but I agree with you, Alan. I'd be absolutely amazed if it's 0-0 on Saturday. But yeah, so we'll come on to that before we go on to the whole Conte situation. Leeds versus Spurs. Justin, do you expect what Alan's talks about there, or do you expect something different, or how do you expect the game to pan out?
No, I think that's pretty much spot on. Let's not forget Bielsa plays one way. You know, he's very similar to Tottenham. It's plan A, and if plan A doesn't work, do plan A again and just repeat it until plan A works. You know, so we know they're not going to do anything different. They are now in a relegation scrap, and I think that the 6 points that Burnley have picked up and the 9 points that Newcastle have picked up haven't really helped their situation at all. I think the only sort of benefits they've got is that Everton are playing just as bad. And Brentford are starting to sink like a stone. So I think that could potentially be helping them. But if I was to pick a game that I wanted Tottenham to play next to try and hopefully, you know, get back to what they did against City, it would be Leeds. Because Leeds play that way. You know, they're all guns blazing. Everybody attacks. I think even when they were 5-0 down against Liverpool, they were still trying to attack. Rather than damage limitation, they were still trying to go forward. So I just think that we need to try and settle into the game, let them try and do what they want, and just pick them off on the counter. You know, I mean, I predicted, as I said on the All Things Tottenham show, I predicted it would be 3-1 Tottenham, because I just think Leeds will score, because I can't recall the last time they haven't, and they've always seemed to got it. And when you've got a player like Rafinha in your team, who I think is world class, and honestly, I would be screaming for Tottenham to sign, because I think he would be a game changer. And I think, although he doesn't play as a playmaker, gives that option if needed. But, you know, him and Son and Kane as a three, I think would be sensational. I really do. But we'll obviously have to wait and see what Tottenham do. I think the problem is that he'll cost money, which will be a bit of a sticking point for Levy. So, but in terms of the game itself, you know, I'm with all of you, and my Twitter handle is on there. So if this does end as a dull 0-0 draw, I will apologise, because I can't see it. You know, honestly, I think hell would have to freeze over for Leeds to go, do you know what, we're gonna sit back. We're going to dig in on this one, because I can't think, since Bielsa's been there, I've never seen Leeds play that way. So I don't think it will start. I think the only way Leeds actually will do anything, which I think it's too late to do now, is if they got rid of Bielsa and got someone else in, because that's all he does, is literally attack, and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously entertaining, and it was superb last season, but you've got to have some kind of balance there. But yeah, I can't see it being 0-0 unless both of the keepers have an absolute blinder for 90 minutes. But I think it'd be so attacking that they'd have to have like an 11 out of 10, both of them, for that to happen. But before we move on to Conte, Alan, just apart with the goal that Burnley scored, did Ben Mee want it more than Romero? Romero's shape was all wrong. He was the wrong side. And I just pointed out, I mentioned it with Lloris with the first City goal yesterday. I'm not saying that people should be having a go at players and moaning at players, but I quite like Sanchez. Whether he's good enough is another point, and he has made a lot of mistakes. But if that was Sanchez, there'd be all sorts of stuff on Twitter going, useless, get out of my club, blah, blah, blah. With Romero, he's obviously been a massive step up on Sanchez. And Lloris has made 4 mistakes in 2 games. He didn't yesterday, Wednesday. What did you make of that? Do you think it was just a bit of a lapse? Do you think it's a lack of what's the word? The fire, motivation, whatever. What did you think of the shape?
I think sometimes if you put a ball into a certain area, then that sometimes the person that's going to be coming onto the ball is going to have a better opportunity than the person that's a little bit more static. If you think of it, when you're a defender, you're not really attacking the ball, you're waiting for the ball. Whereas, it could have been a case of perhaps he wasn't the right person to be on the back post, perhaps Dyer should have been on the back post. I don't know. To be honest with you, so Romero's been we've had 1 win in 4 games, or in our last 4 games, and Romero's been mostly our best player. He suffered on that one occasion against Ben Mee, who's strong in the air. I think myself, from where the free kick was and the flight it went, I'm shocked that Lloris didn't even attempt to try and make an effort. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, the minute because Lloris can see the ball, the flight of the ball, so he knows it's going to be going long. Now, if Lloris sees that ball going long, he knows that the only way we don't concede is if the player misses the effort or he doesn't get to the effort. If he gets to the effort and it's on target, there's very little. The only other chance possibly be if he headed it straight at Lloris. But I don't even think Lloris sees position in there. So, to be honest with you, I'd be more inclined to blame Lloris more than I actually blame Romero for that occasion.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of comments. Simply Ace, back to Leeds. Confidence of our team is rock bottom. Crazy to say that when it's less than a week after we beat top of the league and possibly the champions. We're there for the taking. Leeds, regardless of the result, will always give 100%, will fancy their chances, and who would not against us? And then regarding Romero, he looks a very good defender, needs to cut out the mistakes if he's to be a top world-class defender. What do you make of the goal, Justin? And he's made 2 mistakes in 2 games, Romero. The penalty against City was Well, whether that's a mistake or not,
I think that one's harsh.
It was a definite penalty because he did have his arm in a natural angle and he has moved it down, even albeit slightly. But he's right there, isn't he? Simply Ace. You've got to cut those mistakes out. Same with Lloris as well. That's 5 mistakes. If what Alan's saying there is it's Lloris's fault for not claiming it in 3 games and a couple of goals conceded. 4 goals conceded because of that. I'm not for 1 minute saying drop Lloris and put Galini in, drop Romero and put Sanchez in. Sanchez has made mistakes quite a lot, and Galini pretty much every time he's put the gloves on. But they do have to cut those out, don't they? And
yeah, I mean, let's not forget here. I mean, I'm not so sure. I don't think Lloris really was too much at fault. I think, unfortunately, he read the situation that Romero would deal with it. And the fact of it is that
it was a brilliant ball in as well. We do have to be fair to Burnley. I don't know who put the ball in.
Yeah, I mean,
fantastic ball. Sorry to cut you off. Similar to Kulusevski on the winning goal against City, the ball in to say to the strikers, now do your job. And let's not forget, I think, to be fair, with regards to Romero, if we look at what he is bringing when he's playing, particularly with Dyer, in that back line, there is a much more of a what we've been used to when we had Vertonghen and Alderweireld, in a sense of that there is more of a stability at the back. I think what we've got to remember is when Dyer isn't there, he is a headless chicken. And I think that's something that is still being worked on. The amount of times we've seen Romero try and burst forward, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I think potentially, though, what we need to make sure of, which is where a replacement for Ben Davies needs to come, in the sense of that if he is going to burst forward, we can drop almost from a 3 to a 2 at the back, and then the wing backs are dropping back into fullback position. If he is going to go on a mazy sort of run forward. So what I would say with regards to the goal, I mean, Ben Mee clearly wanted it more, and he got poorly positioned for it, Romero. But let's not forget what we've seen of Romero so far is a darn sight better than what we've, I think, ever seen from Sanchez. Because from what I've seen, Sanchez is far too erratic, and I don't think. I mean, okay. Romero was poorly positioned. I don't even think Sanchez would have got anywhere near it, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't. So I think we have to accept that there are flaws in that. But I think if we can go out and get a left-sided centre-back to play with Dyer and Romero, I think then it will be much more stable, because then you've got 3 top-quality centre-backs, and then you decide on who you want to keep as like backup. I can imagine you'll probably keep Davies and one other, and then either Rodon or Sanchez will seek pastures new. So I would say yes, there is a mistake in him, but it is his first season, and I think what we've got to look at is there's more positives than negatives which can be built on. Yeah, I agree. I'm not for 1 minute saying get him out, he's a liability, bring Sanchez in, but he does need to stop those errors. Same for Lloris. A couple of comments. Darryl Denton, dinner time kickoff. This won't be a classic. Well, it probably helps us if it's not end to end. Mr. K in the chat. How you doing, Mr. K? Any chance Skip coming back? I have no idea. I've heard the injury is a bit more.
I've got an infection. It's got an infection or something in the infection in the injury itself. Yeah. So
I read something today as well. Whether it's true or not, it hasn't come from Tottenham, that Bentancur is injured as well.
He's out for 3 weeks.
Possibly that was why Winks came on, presumably at half time, 45 minutes against Burnley. But we've skipped the big story. The big story isn't the fact that we lost to Burnley. We've got a game coming up. It's what happened after Burnley, which we all know about, and it's Conte's interview. Oh dear. Start with you, Alan. He said that if the coach is the problem, I've got no problem going. He's also said, this was after City. He said that it's the best group of players he's had in his career, and now all of a sudden he's saying that it's all over the place.
I think his comment. I think his comment was people, wasn't it? I think he said best group of people. In other words,
okay.
like
So do you think the whole comment is, I'm really fed up, I'm going to leave if you don't sort something out? Or do you think it's... I saw something on BBC on someone writing in saying it was very clever because it said, if the coach is the problem. He knows the coach isn't the problem. And Levy then says either, no, you're not the problem, you're the man, or you're fired. If it's the first, then he has to back him. I mean, that's a whole different conversation, isn't it? Levy backing a manager. But what did you make of his interview?
Scary. Scary and worrying. As I say,
he looked fed up, didn't he? He looked like he just couldn't be bothered. And
but he come across that little bit, come across that way a little bit without saying the words after the Southampton, the Wolves game. He come over that with that feel, you know what I mean? He just never mentioned the same wording. And so when you're a winner like Conte is, and you've lost 4 out of your 5 games, that is like, to be honest with you, he looked like a fan. He was like as if he was a fan doing an interview.
He mentioned as well the fans, didn't he? He said something along the lines of, the fans don't deserve this, but you you could be mentioning any time in the last 4 years. Yeah,
as I say, worrying. The only thing that worry me will be how the players have taken it, if they've taken it in the way, because as I say, he kind of pointed out to me the players are not there, that are there are not good enough. He mentioned the managers go, the coaches go, the blah 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 go, but the players are still there. And in my to me, that pointed out, like, to say, well, these players just ain't good enough. Now, not being funny, but if you're a player and you take that on board, how are you going to take it? Are you going to take it of, oh well, if you feel like that, I won't bother putting even in 25% next week, rather than it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. I think Pochettino is very much on the arm round the shoulder. You make a mistake, it's okay, I've asked you to do this, just try and be better next time. Whereas Mourinho was very much, you make a mistake, I'm shooting you, you're never playing for me again. Conte, if he's doing that as well, that worries me, because with the exception of maybe a Kane and a Son, maybe a Dyer as well, you can't talk to players like that these days. They're so pampered and so involved in their own self-importance. The days of being able to, talk to that like an Ibrahimovic, a Terry, a Ronaldo, even a Lampard are done, I think. You can't talk to a Harry Winks like that, because he's just going to sink into his shell. I think Kane, Son, Dyer, possibly the only ones. A couple of comments before we move on to Justin. Win ratio without Skip is poor. We miss Skip massively. Mr. K has said, Fabrizio Romano has said Conte is staying until the summer. Romano has spoken. And also, the players know it's their fault. It's up to them to perform when they go onto the pitch. They can't hide now. A lot to digest there, Justin. In terms of what Romano has said, that links on something Danny Kiriakou said in the WhatsApp chats, which is his worry, is that Conte will stay for this season. Levy will then say, we're going to try and buy players. And then we have, deja vu again after the summer, where Conte hasn't got the players he wants because the players he wants are too expensive, and Levy's got cheap options which don't work. And then after the summer, Conte says, I've had enough of this. I'm out.
It won't last that long, Chris. It won't last that long. I reckon if Conte ain't backed by the 1st of July, when they go into pre-season, if he hasn't got 2 or 3 players in at least that he wants by the 1st of July, I reckon we'll be saying goodbye, because he ain't going to wait till lastminute.com to get the team.
No.
He wants to work with the team. He wants to make sure that team has his mindset from the 1st of July, the minute they sit on that field for the first set of pre-season. I don't think he's going to allow this lateminute.com John anymore.
No. What do you think, Justin? A few questions. Firstly, your take on the interview. Secondly, do you think Conte's had enough now, or do you think he'll wait to the summer? And do you think if he does wait to the summer, it's at the end of the window, or like Alan says, first day of pre-season, I want my team there that I want? So a few questions.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the first point, one thing I did want to say, which I think very much backs up what he's referring to, is that 9 of the players that were in that between starting 11 on the subs bench were there when Pochettino was there. 9 of them. That highlights there straight away. Pochettino's been gone now. What was it, like 3 years? I think has he been gone? I think he was. And we've not evolved. The players there, have been able to accept that mediocrity is acceptable, is okay, it's fine, because as long as we are being competitive, and that I remember hearing that in Daniel Levy's interview when he said we want to be competitive. Well, Norwich, when they came up, wanted to be competitive. Burnley want to be competitive. Turning around saying being competitive, I can't. That absolutely wound me up, because I think if you're in the Premier League,
Morecambe were competitive with us for
they
the vast majority of that game.
I'm pretty sure that Middlesbrough will be the same. So the fact of it being is that he's right in what he is saying, that a big chunk of those players have stayed, and the club have always seemed to take a view of, well, I'll just get someone else in to manage these players and do better with them. The club seem to have a view of it's cheaper to sack a manager than it is to rebuild a squad, which is where I think, to be fair, is what he is saying. In that interview, okay, it did come across quite childlike and almost trying to goad the club into sacking him. But I think he came out there and was basically saying, look, unless you change the squad and actually let me build the squad in my shape, you're not going to change anything. You're just going to be doing the same thing over and over again. And what will then start to happen is that fans will then actually start to see. And I suppose the one thing we do have to take is that he is highlighting what fans who don't agree with the ownership have been saying all along. Those comments, okay, were done in a childlike manner, but were very true of what people feel, what I feel. It's absolutely right. There are players there that, have bottled finals, bottled semi-finals, bottled champion, winning the Premier League, bottled getting into top 4, all kinds of different things, bottled playing against plumbers, all these different things that the team have bottled. And you can only do so much as a manager to support somebody, but you're not going to turn Harry Winks into Iniesta. You're not going to turn Davison Sanchez, into John Terry, as you mentioned earlier. You're not going to turn certain players. You're not going to turn Matt Doherty into the greatest right wing back of all time. And I think what he's also trying to highlight is the fact of, let's just stop mucking about here and do this properly. In terms of, I think it was the second question you asked about, will he be there till the end of the season? I think so. I think what he has done, though, is he's laid out a marker to say, look, I'll put up with what you did in January, but I won't put up with it in the summer. And I mean, I've had comments from people saying that, yeah, but the 4 he let go wouldn't have played. It doesn't matter. They may have been on the bench. He may have kept some as an option. They could have potentially been integrated back into the team. I don't think he would have turned around and said, all 4 of you rot in the reserves and never see this team again. I don't think that would have happened. And in terms of, obviously, your final point about, what Conte does, I'm kind of with Alan on that. He's seen what Tottenham did in January. He saw it clear as anything that Tottenham had this idea of just to get the 4 out and then bring in 2 people that would be what Conte would want. The problem with that, though, was that, as he rightly said, the numbers don't lie. 4 went out, 2 came in. So you are down from that point. But also, as well, he will have seen the shambolic, approach they took to get Adama Traore. He would have seen the pointless attempt, and I say pointless attempt, to get Luis Diaz. Wouldn't have happened, because all that needed to happen was, and what we did was we just did Liverpool a favour by reducing the price. So I think we should get some commission for that. But you look at, and I think there was a report that Levy was going to go and complain to Liverpool's hierarchy, like they're going to give them monkeys,
you want to be focusing on your team, not someone getting many million off.
Yeah, and the other point as well is you look at what is potentially out there in the freebie market. The likes of Dybala, who they put in an offer in at the moment. Kessie's out there. I know that you've got Mbappe, and there are other sort of top ones like that, but they're not going to come to Spurs.
There's more chance of Tottenham winning the World Cup than Mbappe coming to Tottenham next.
And to be fair, the only reason there was ever that link was Tom Holland. So that's the reason that ever got linked. But I think he's trying to sort of sit there and say to the club, you need to do your business early. If there are freebies out there, get them now. Get them signed up. Get them so I know I've got them. Rather than, mess about with, people that you might like, or people that you might see, or things like that, And there are plenty of, let's not forget out there, there are plenty of players that are going to be out of contract in the summer. So, and I've gone through them. I think there was like some from Inter and some from AC Milan, outside the ones I've mentioned. So he, I think, with his comments, was almost trying to say to the club, get this done early. If you want to change what you're looking to do, get it done early. And I think the problem that the owners have got is that they can't. I don't think the owners can sack Conte. I don't think they can. I think they actually have to go with this, because the problem being is, if the owners sack him, who's next? Who actually comes in? Because what you're basically saying...
I'm doing well on Football Manager at the moment, so I'll throw my name in the hat right now.
To be fair, I got down to the last two when they appointed Nuno. I couldn't be bothered to turn up for the interview, so that's why they gave it to him. But in terms of that, when you look at it and you look at if Conte goes, it is a case of, to be honest, they might as well just put anyone's name in a hat, pull it out and go, yeah, he'll do it, because it doesn't matter. What they're basically saying is that the business is more important than the football, and that will always be the case. And then what you'll see is just we've got a nice stadium, but we aren't, that stadium isn't for us. We just play in that stadium. If that sort of makes sense. So I think from his comments, it's very much saying to the club, I will continue this until either you back me or I go. Simple as that.
Yeah, a lot of comments here, a few different things, so I'll go through. Darryl Denton's 2-2 is what he thinks could be the lead score. Jay Ashraf saying this game is El Sacchio Part 2, and I can see him walking away if it's another loss. Which Simply Ace has said Conte will likely walk if we lose against Leeds. Darryl then says, and half the fan base, Simply Ace agreeing with that. Simply Ace going for 3-1 to Leeds. Conte going potty in the post-match interview. And Simply Ace earlier as well. Conte's interview, very concerning, basically calling out the club for not backing managers and that the players in the main are useless. Also happy to go if he's not wanted. And Alan, based on just what Justin said there and what Simply Ace has said there, and I've not ever been worried about the newspaper report saying Conte is going to walk, because it's newspaper reports. A newspaper in America said that the Queen had died this week because they'd heard from the Royal Kingdom. Newspapers just write any old crap to sell paper. Yeah. But when it comes from the man's actual mouth in an interview, there's no hiding from that. The proof is evident there that he has said that. Whether it's a kind of parlor tricks or whatever, but there's obviously a problem there. Do you see him walking if we lose against Leeds? Do you think if he doesn't, that his calling out there?
See you later. No. Do you think my wife's on more streams than me.
Yeah, so do you see him walking if we lose to Leeds, or do you see that? No. I mean, this is a ridiculous question next, I'll warn you. Levy will take heed of what he says and change and do what Conte says. How do you see this all ending? Darryl as well has said need to try Rodon over Sessegnon. Not sure about that, but we'll come back to that in a bit. yeah,
Can I
what
go-
do you see
can
being
I-
the end game of all of this
Well-
Conte stuff?
Can I go to bed now and wake up in May and give you the answer?
You can come back in May and then say, well, I was either right or wrong, or you know.
I tell you something. As I said when you first asked me about Conte's reaction, scary. You know what I mean? So every game now is going to be a case of, are the players going to be playing for him, or is he going to be giving it 100% to do what? As I say, if he lasts to the end of the season, then we have to back him, and we have to do it before that date of July the 1st, because that's the way Conte likes to work. He wants to have his squad in place and working, and know what they've got to do. Yeah.
What do you see as the end game, Justin? Do you think Levy will change? Or another point as well, you mentioned about the three players there. Certainly, Kessie would have been around 10 million in January.
They tried though. They tried for him.
Yeah, that's a difficult one because they did.
Right, okay.
I will give them the due on that one. They did want to because they wanted to avoid the likes of Barcelona.
Yeah.
But
do you think, right, that Champions League is imperative, because all of those players you mentioned, certainly Dybala, ignore Mbappe, like I said, there's more chance of us winning La Liga than him coming to us. Dybala, Kessie, they're going to want to play Champions League football, and even though because they're free, not going to be a queue round the block, but there's going to be a few clubs interested, and likely one of those will be in the Champions League, and they're likely to go there. Do you think missing out on Champions League is huge, or do you think if Kane stays, Conte stays, we've got a bit of pulling power there? Where do you see this Conte comment?
Well, you asked about whether Levy will change, and I was just looking outside to see if I saw some pigs fly past.
In fairness to me, I did say it was a ridiculous question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
But I also did have a look to see if Held frozen over, and no, that hasn't either. So, in terms of, look, I think from the club's perspective, Champions League was the aim, and I think that's kind of what fitted his outburst. I think the club said to him, you know, if you get us top four, we will give you everything you want. And I think he's made it perfectly clear. I don't think that Tottenham will get top four. I don't think it will be the be-all and end-all, because, you know, this whole needing to get to be in the Champions Leagues, you know, to attract the best players, I think for certain players that will probably be true. You know, I think if we were going after the likes of Haaland and Mbappe, then yes, you need to be in the Champions League to be able to do that. But I think one of the things we have to look at as well is, you know, the draw of working for Conte is massive. And I think that's, you know, why when you look at Harry Kane's situation per se for the year, when he realised that Mourinho was going, he thought, right, okay, I'm not overly happy about it, but I'll see who comes in. When he saw the mess and that they ended up with Nuno, that's when he was like, nah, I don't want to be part of this. It's ridiculous. You know, now that they've got Conte, he's looking at it back similar to that, and he's looking at, okay, what are you going to do? And as I say, I mean, I've got the list in front of me of people who are, you know, going to be out of contract in the summer. And this whole notion of needing Champions League football, in my mind, I think is just ridiculous, because, you know, let's look at, say, Lo Celso and Ndombele for a second. They're both playing quite well. You know, if Lyon get into the top, I think they've got to get in the top three for them. I think they've only got 3 Champions League spots. But if they get in the top 3, they're going to want to keep Ndombele. So bang, straight away, you've made your money back, because they're pretty much going to buy him back for what they sold him for. So there's about 50 odd million quid back in your pocket. You know, Villarreal, you know, go and get into the Champions League there. You know, they're going to want to sign Lo Celso. So that's potentially another 50 million quid. That's 100 million quid without putting any money in your pocket. You then talk about players you can sell on, and you've got time to do that. You know, if we sell Sanchez for a fiver, you know, Winks, you know, for maybe for a Snickers or a marathon bar, depending if they'll take that. But, you know, something, you know, where you can get these players out and you could generate maybe 30, you know, even 50 million quid from players you get out the door. That's 150 million quid straight away. And bearing in mind, if Tottenham are clever, which they've always said they are, which I don't believe, but if they can be clever, even if they got 3 or 4 free transfers in, that in itself is then massive. That is then in itself turning around and saying, look, we can get you these players who are cheap, won't cost you a lot of money. But what we're then going to do is we're going to go all out and spend big for someone else. And I think that is when they could go for the likes of Rafinha, in that position, because he's young enough. He fits the model. He's played in the Premier League. To me, they could go and do something like that could work. So this notion of needing Champions League football, and let's not forget, I remember going back to the Martin Jol days where it was the holy grail to get into the top 4. As soon as we got top 4, did we then go out and actually start backing the manager? No, we kept all the money back to go into a stadium that I'm pretty sure most fans couldn't give a monkey's about. I'd been quite happy to stay at White Hart Lane. So from that aspect, we've had top 4 before, but we never kicked on. And I think it always takes it back to the Liverpool Spurs game at Wembley when we battered them 4-1. And it's amazing how one team went upwards and the other team's gone backwards. And you wouldn't have said it would be Liverpool going upwards at that point. So I don't think that matters top 4. I think it is a case of being smart in the window, getting Deadwood out quickly, and then being able to put that money back into the team. I think that will appease Conte and also appease Kane. Because if you sell Kane, it's going to cost a lot of money to replace.
Yeah, a couple of comments. Cody Mack in here. Well.
Cody.
Hi, guys. How you doing, Cody? Thanks so much for the comments. And everybody for the comments. Please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. Simply Ace, Bentancur, Kulo came to the club because of Conte. He's the only one, the only pulling power we have. A couple of comments from Darren I'll come to in a bit when we talk about lineup versus Leeds. But Alan, in terms of Champions League, like Justin says, do you think we need it? Because I think some players, like Justin said, will want that and won't go anywhere if they don't have it. But then there's also the added thing of there's a World Cup in the smack bang in the middle of next season. Which players, who are on the fringes of their nations there will be, well, if I can start playing football for a couple of months, I might be able to force my way in. The January window is going to be very interesting next season because there will be injuries, there'll be all sorts of stuff going on for people in the World Cup and fatigue and everything like that. But in terms of players for the summer, do you think we need Champions League to attract those players, or do you think, like Simply A says, we've got Conte, we'll have Kane, and like Justin says, it's not the be all or end all for some players?
I think Champions League is just a bonus in some places, if you know what I mean. With the World Cup coming up, the only players you might pick out there are players that want to be seen more by their international managers. Like, I don't know whether Dybala plays for Juventus, but you know what I mean. If it meant that he knew he was going to get regular playing time, would he come to? He's going to want to go to a club where he can play and get regular times to make sure he's in the manager's eye. I mean, the only reason why there's been talk about Bale coming possibly back would be because he wants to make sure he's fit if they get there. If he don't, he wants to have fit, and he knows that there's a possibility Spurs might give him a chance, depending on whether Conte would want him. If we got Bale and Conte didn't want him, then we got problems again.
Yeah, another comment based on that. Bob Spur, how you doing, Bob Spur? Great to see you on YouTube's channel the other week. I do think if no Champions League football, it'll be hard to keep hold of Kane, Son and Conte. Romero unlikely to sign up to. I'm not sure with Conte there because, he obviously went to Chelsea, who were nowhere near that Champions League when he took over. He got them back in. Same with Inter Milan, they were nowhere near. So I'm not sure he'd be that bothered about that. But it would be next season is I need to get in the Champions League this season and I need the players that you need to get me the players that here's my shortlist. I need those players. Be very interesting. It'd be very interesting. But again, we're not going to know any of that until the summer. Heaven forbid he leaves before the summer. That would be absolutely disastrous. But in terms of the game, in terms of the game, Justin, for the lineup, Daryl's comments here. Need to try Rodon over Sessegnon and need to start Mora over Kulu to put Leeds on the back foot. And Mr. K has asked about Bob Spurs' stream. Stream hopping. I thought it's a stream happening. Stream hopping. But brilliant to see Bob Spur on any stream in any capacity. Absolutely superb. But yeah, Justin, Leeds, what would your lineup be? I mean, I got asked by a Dan Burnley fan on his channel on Tuesday, what would be your lineup against Burnley? And I said exactly the same 11 that started against City. And that worked quite well.
Didn't help with Bentancur though, did it?
Yeah. What would I mean? Obviously, it can't be the same lineup. We've got a couple of injuries there. What would be your lineup? Certainly in terms of the defence and midfield, because the attack pretty much sorts itself out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree that Moura should start ahead of Kulusevski. I think actually Kulusevski offered more. Offers a lot more on that right hand side. And I think the problem is if you take Kulusevski out and put Moura in, you're then limiting it to just Emerson. And that, to me, I think just leaves us very weak on that side. I think what helped against City was the fact that we weren't so reliant on the left or in the middle. We could spread the ball about, and Kulusevski was getting back when it was needed. So I think the three that we've got need to start. For me, I know that he will pick Winks, which makes me feel very sad. But to me, I would rather have Moura in the middle and almost have a mini sort of diamond formation, have a sort of a Højbjerg sitting back and letting Moura push forward if he needs to, sort of in that sort of shape, because I think that way you're still got somebody who's defensively solid. Moura will put a shift in as well and is actually better going forward. But I mean, the team he had out at half time against Burnley, that will be the team. I know it will. He'll go with Winks because of the fact that Winks is like
else is there if Skip's injured.
That's why. That's, to be honest, that's why I said Moura, sticking Moura in there, because at least that way you've got someone who offers a lot more. If you're just telling him to do a few sort of tricks in the middle and then pass the ball forward, he will do that. In terms of Winksy, or what Mr. K calls him, I won't repeat. But in terms of Wings, I just think he's just below what Spurs need. And to me, I think by sort of just having Moura in there and then that same 11, you kind of have more of an attacking prowess across the whole of the pitch, and you then take away the need for to Kane to drop as deep as he sometimes does, or if he does drop deep, that Moura pushes on. You could do it like that they could flick between each other, and you have something like if Moura is gonna push forward, you could then have Højbjerg sitting back, and then Kane drops in sort of into the middle part, and you do something like that. That, to me, I think offers more of a variety. But in terms of the wing backs, I think they are going to be what we've got, because they're the best of what we've got, sadly. Centre backs, apart from Davies, but we haven't got anybody better. So again, it will be those, Lloris in goal, and then Son, Kane and Kulusevski, because I don't think Conte is brave enough to drop Son for Bergwijn, because that could be another option as well. Actually take him out of the firing line, give him a break, but I think he'll want to go all guns blazing to try and match up against against Leeds, basically.
Yeah, well, I think with Son, on paper, there's goals in this game for us on paper. Davil said, can't see Sessegnon playing after last game. Mr. K said, Moura can play in the number 10 slot, 3-4-1-2. And Alan, what would be your lineup there? With Kulusevski, I do agree with Justin there. In the City game, he showed a lot more discipline, I think, than Moura in tracking back and helping out, which I don't think Moura has. And Mr. K's given us his formation there.
Yeah, he's got one too many players.
Davies. Sorry?
He's got 12 players in there.
Right, okay.
If you look, if you can, if you
3, 4, 5,
13, if you
yeah,
can.
but I think
Reggie on or
Oh yeah, but no. But if you look at
Reguilon or Sessegnon, Emerson, Højbjerg,
13
Wanky.
with
I'm
that.
not sure who Wanky is. We obviously signed him. Obviously, Mr. K is not a fan of Winks. Decky, I'm assuming that's Kulu. Son, Kane, and then Morva would be nice.
Yeah, I think he's referring to Moore instead of the other player that we
and
signed.
Simply Ace's team is Loris, Romero, Dyer, Rodon, Reguilon. That obviously depends on whether he's back from COVID. Bergwijn, Højbjerg, Morva, Kulu, Son, Kane. So I'm not sure who's that dropping out. That's Winks dropping out. And Darryl saying play 4-5-1. This wing back stuff isn't working. What would be your lineup, Alan?
Well, I play the start of the second half, like the players there, bar less Winks, and just play with 10 men because he ain't no bloody good to us anyway, is he? So we might as well start off with 10 men because it's like having 10 men with him on it.
Yeah. Kuva here has said no wing backs, one midfielder, 3-1-6.
Yeah, well,
that's the Leeds formation, isn't it?
The Aussie dealers. Kuva must be in there. The Aussie dealers formations. But no, to be honest with you, I'd love to see Harvey White given a chance. I'd love to see it. The thing is, we don't seem brave enough to be chucking players in nowadays. I mean,
no.
I'd love to see Scarlett given a chance with Kane, not on his own, like he was done in the Europa games, with Kane. So he's got someone experienced to feed off. I'd love to see, but I'd love to see Harvey White because everything I've seen of him on clips and this and else, he's got such a beautiful delivery of the ball.
So
can take a set piece.
Would you be putting him in for Bentancur then?
Yeah, I'd like to take a chance on him. I mean, I wouldn't mind giving Rodon a chance in Davies' place because Davies seems to look like he could do a break as well. But yeah, my main lineup would be what come on in the second half. Bar Winks, put whoever you want in there. Put Teletubby in there if you want, or just put something in there, but just not Winks. He just doesn't seem to. There's one part of that Burnley game. He looked like he picked the ball up, and he looked like he was just about to surge forward, and then he stopped and went backwards. And I thought, why?
Yeah, that's back to the lack of confidence, Winks, that we saw in the Carabao Cup, which he has been looking a bit more confident. Certainly, that ball that Kane scored against Southampton, which was disallowed, was him passing it forward, only looking forward. But yeah,
has he put in a good performance though since the window closed?
Yeah, probably not. 4-5-1, similar to 4-2-3-1 when going forward. Poch Era says Mr. K, without a playmaker there. Pre has said Levy stuffed us. Levy's followed that one with stuffed and posted over a slow fire. Dan THFC, how you doing, Dan? Loris, Romero, Davies, Dyer, Doherty, Sessegnon, Højbjerg, Winks, Kulusevski, Harry, Son, and Kulu is the number 10. Yeah, I do agree. Harvey White, how do you know how good you've said, Conte, the players aren't good enough? How do you know the other players aren't good enough if you don't give them a chance? But yeah, he's unlikely to do that, I think. It'll be, I'd say the tried and tested. It hasn't been tested very well, but the tried and tested formation and players that he knows. Kuva said, Levy has still had his fist up the cockerel looking for loose change. So we'll end with this. I can't give a score prediction because it tempts too much fate, although at this moment in time, what's the point? But I'll still stick with it. But I'll go Spurs win. I think Kane and Son will be too much for Leeds defence, even though we'll concede a goal. So I will give a score. I'll go 3-2, same as City. Justin, predictions for you?
Yeah, I said on the All Things Tottenham show, 3-1. So from what I've seen and what I think Leeds will do, they will score, but I think we'll just, have enough to deal with it, and they'll keep coming even at 2-1. So I think, it'll be 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah. And Alan, predictions for the game?
I hate these things. I really hate doing these.
Well,
I was on Spurs Asian.
4-1 Spurs.
I was on Spurs Eurasian the other day, and I said, "Look, I'm fed up of doing these." I said, "I'm just going to predict 1-0 Burnley, because then that way we might win." And guess what?
Alan wins.
Yeah.
And Dan has said, Doherty is better on the ball, so I prefer him in this one to Emerson. Coover, you know what they say, small hands, black heart, referring to Levy. Nicholas Collinson, same with you, Justin. 3-1, 3-1, not sure who to. So, I think the bit where Alan's wrong is there's a nil in there. I think both teams will score. I can't see this anyone keeping a clean sheet here. Hopefully Spurs can win, but I'm going to commit to not coming on Monday on here and then saying we're back in the top 4 race because I think that's done. Although,
no,
if it's a handsome win, who knows what will happen.
No.
It's what Spurs do to us. But it's been great talking to you guys. Thanks so much, Alan, for coming on your debut. Shelfside Spurs, your channel. People who have watched this regularly know Vez, who's been on, who's on the same channel. The Twitter handle, your personal Twitter handle, and the YouTube link are in the description. But for anyone who doesn't know about Shelfside Spurs, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, as I say, Shelfside Spurs, I'm quite a newbie to them. They got me on there, paid me fortunes to go on, but I couldn't take the money. I said, no lads, you keep it. But anyway, no. As I say, I'm a newbie to it, but I've been renamed Alatici. They've renamed it. I've managed to get us. I don't know if any of you boys see it. A few weeks ago, we had Mickey Hazard come on. I managed to get that done for us, and then I've come flying out the traps we've got Stevie Perriman next week. So, excellent. Yeah.
Make sure you head over there. Hit a like, hit a subscription, and make sure you watch that one with Steve Perriman as well. And Justin, thanks so much for coming on again. No channel for you, but you're regularly on a few channels, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, the main one that I do is the All Things Tottenham show. As I said, now just gone on to YouTube. Was a podcast, but now it's on YouTube as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed what I've said on here. And obviously, if you want to have a look at that as well, then please do so. But yeah, as I said, when I get a chance, obviously, I'm happy to join yourself on this. And as I said, join others just to talk about the wonders of supporting this club that we love.
Yeah, I'd love to hate as well because they are frustrating at times. But all things Tottenham, I'll make sure to put that in the description as well. So check that out as well. Last few comments. Dan has said 4-2 Tottenham. Not sure my heart could cope with that one. No, I said 3-2, so it's not that much different. Simply Ace, great show. Thanks so much for your support and all the comments. Dan said top 4 is over. Thanks, guys, from Mr. K. Nicholas Collinson, we're talking about Levy again. I won't repeat that one. Mr. K said, what's top 4? It's that mythical land. If you've ever watched the film Waterworld, it's the mythical land that is dry land. Very similar, something completely unattainable. Mr. Nicholas Collinson saying you lie. I'm not sure who he's talking about. I think
that was to me about my transfer fee onto Shelfside.
Mr. K's given us a realistic ambition, which is Eurovision top 4. We haven't got that many Englishmen here. Englishmen don't do well in Eurovision, but we've got quite a few European players. They do quite well. As it is now from Darryl, I'm not sure what that means as well. Levy a small hand, so everyone gets a hold of it. Looks like a big prick, according to Coover. Should have read that first and pre-read that one. We will struggle to make top 10, says Simply Ace. Mr. K, we have a chance. I'm sure Wanky is a great singer. Not a fan of Harry Winks.
Just a tad not, no.
Simply Ace. I disagree, says Coover. I reckon we can fully deserve a 10th place finish. Daniel Levy don't watch this, so he won't have seen that comment anyway. He doesn't watch any Spurs streams.
I don't think he's anywhere near social media.
His ears will be absolutely burning on all of them if he watches any of them, because they're all not
spies out there
about him. Last couple of comments. Nicholas Collinson, Alatici, come on, a boss man. Oh, come on, a Bosman. Sorry, come on, a Bosman. I do apologise.
Yeah.
Mr. K forgot. Levy out. So thanks to Alan. Thanks to Justin. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. It really helps. Then go into the descriptions. Go to Shelfside Spurs. All things Tottenham. Do the same thing there. Be back on Monday after hopefully a win. which will then open up the top 4 race again. Only joking. I think we're out of it now. I can't be doing this every week. On a Monday coming on saying top 4's back on, Friday going top 4's dead. I can't be doing it. So
it's like that song, isn't it? The hokey cokey. Left side, you're inside.
Top 4's on. The top 4's out. On
in out, shaking all about.
And now we're down to 7. So we're back on Monday. Hopefully something positive to talk about and a good win against Leeds. But until then, come on, you Spurs.
Levy out.
Thank you so much for watching. For everybody who participated in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Anybody who couldn't watch the live video, you can still catch us on YouTube. Add any comments, suggestions or questions to the comments section on the video. Anybody who's listened to the audio-only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anybody who wants the audio-only podcast, you get this wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter, @Talk Tottenham, you'll find all the information there. We'll be back soon. We're live Mondays, 8 p.m, Fridays, 12:30 UK time. Until then, come on, you Spurs!